Hello, everybody. I think we can probably make a start now. So welcome to the first virtual UK HE user group. This was always scheduled to be a virtual user group. We had been planning a physical meetup like we have had the last couple of years for summer. Given current circumstances, that is looking at very best unlikely, but we will look to see if we can reschedule for something another time. But more on that soon. But for now, we've got a virtual user group. I hope you're all staying well. I hope you're all staying safe and being busy working from home. I suspect most of us, if not all of us, are now working from home. So thanks for joining us. We have got an exciting agenda today. If I can remember how to use this. Sorry, before I go into the agenda, just to note, we are going to record this session and we will make it available, I suspect, via the Tableau website. So for today, we've got a quick introduction from myself, and then I think when you signed up for this session, you had to fill in a little survey of things, of ideas we've been having and to see what things people might be interested in. So we'll have a look at what people have said they are interested in. Then we've got a couple of presenters. So we've got, first up, we have Kalpesh and Shreeta from Middlesex. They work in the finance department at Middlesex University. They spoke in Nottingham at our one-day conference about 18 months ago. I think they also spoke at a Tableau conference in London a few years ago. So they're going to give us an update of what they've been up to since in the last couple of years. Then we have got some of my colleagues from the University of Nottingham, James, Jennie and Matt, who are going to they've got a presentation intriguingly titled, "I've finished that viz you asked for." Then we've got some questions. Well, actually we don't yet, that's your job. If you've got any questions, there's a Q&A chat button on the Zoom thing somewhere. I think it's either at the bottom of your screen. On mine it's at the top, but I'm sure you can find a Q&A where you can enter your question. If you could just do us a favor and flag up whether the question is for Middlesex, whether it's for Nottingham, or whether it's for generic HE tug stuff. That will save us a bit of a job. And then we'll just have a review of next steps and where we might go from here. We've obviously had some ideas whilst we're all stuck at home, that we can perhaps do some more stuff virtually. So then we can have a look at that and work out what our next steps are. So, without further ado, your host today. So today's virtual Tableau HE user group has been brought to you by Dave Kirk from De Montfort, James Berry from Sheffield Hallam, and myself, Neil Davidson from the University of Nottingham. However, it would be nice if we had some more people volunteer to help us. We're all doing this on top of our day jobs. So if you think you would like to get involved, please reach out to one of us either on the Q&A as discussed or via our email. Drop us an email. We probably need to find a way of sharing our email addresses, but I'm sure you can find them. Yeah, please let us know if you're happy, if you'd be prepared to help us organize some of these events in the future. All of that is supported by the fabulous Caroline at Tableau. Caroline makes everything happen, basically. Dave, James, and I come up with some ideas, and then Caroline makes us all look good by making them happen. So thank you, Caroline, for all your help. And next step is, yes, so why is it not working? Open Tableau. So we asked you to fill in a little survey when you signed up. Of course, we took that data and we put it into Tableau. So I say we, Pete and my team did this. So let me just make this full screen. So first off, let's have a look at who's attending today. Wow, lots of people. So we have 98 participants today, which is fantastic. Coventry, hello. Middlesex, hello. And then Solent, UCL, Nottingham, the institutions with the biggest attendees, but that's a pretty fantastic list of people. So thank you all for your time today. So what did we say? We asked you what you'd be interested in doing. Which activity got the most individual votes? Well, that was HE data group work. So I'm not entirely sure what we had in mind of this, but I think we had in mind using some shared data that HESA make available, or other data that we can get access to, and working up a little bit like the JISC Analytics Labs people, but perhaps a little bit more informally. If people are interested in that, I think the key thing here is, if you are interested in doing any of these things, please let us know through the chat that you'd be interested. Or I suppose if we got a permission to email you from your registration, so we can put people into groups. We just need some ideas of what kind of things that people would like to do in a bit more detail than just HE data group work. So what kind of data would you be interested in using? That kind of thing. So we need to find ways of making that happen, and we will try and do that. We also wondered, and the people's first choice, I think everyone was quite keen on having more regular virtual TUG meetups whilst we're all at home. We are happy to facilitate that. I think the one thing at Tableau, Caroline was saying that Tableau are looking into how we can make that a bit more feasible with logistics. So making Zoom available to not just Caroline to organize this Zoom and allow everyone to register, but so that we can take over some of that stuff and just do stuff on our own by using Tableau Zoom licenses. However, all that said, we can only have fortnightly virtual meetups if we have speakers ready for that. This is a call out. If you have a Tableau story you'd like to share, if you have a Tableau journey, if you have anything you'd like to share via Tableau, please let us know, and we'll schedule in a session where you can present. I think it's easier to present virtually. You don't have to look at people's eyes when you're speaking. So yeah, please let us know if you'd like to speak. Otherwise, they'll be fairly boring virtual meetups because we'll have nothing to talk about. And likewise, if you want to get involved in a Viz feedback session, those institutions who might want some feedback on a Viz or would like to offer feedback on a Viz, let us know. I like the idea of a Tableau doctor. So to lots of people, we kind of need a Tableau doctor to do that, or a group of Tableau doctors who can provide some technical solutions for people's problems. So again, just let us know. We'll coordinate it, but let us know if you're available. That would be fantastic. So now I need to work out how to get back to PowerPoint. Minimize that. There we are. Excellent. Right. Okay, so keep in touch. Again, one of the things that Caroline was saying, there's only so many emails that Tableau can send out on our behalf. So if you could subscribe for news by clicking on this link here. So I think you probably found this on the user groups page on Tableau. If you look for the HE UK user group page, you should be able to subscribe to our output, so that you'll get updated when new stuff is coming along, because we can't keep spamming everyone's emails. As I said, please use the chat during the session. It's Dave's only job today is to monitor the chat, so let's keep him busy by asking lots of questions of our speakers, by volunteering to speak at future sessions, by volunteering to be a Tableau doctor, by volunteering to organize a work session. Otherwise, Dave's gonna be bored. I've just said all that. And volunteer to coordinate a group working session. So yes, please just let us know if you can help out in any way, and we'll take it from there. And I think yes. So now we're at our first session. So Kalpesh and Shreeta, I can't remember now exactly who's going to be sharing their screen, but if we can share their screen, then Kalpesh and
I'll be sharing mine, Neil.
Okay, so do I have to?
You have to stop yours.
I'll stop sharing. All right, perfect. Okay, done.
There you go. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Right.
So yeah, my name is Kalpesh, and my colleague Shreeta is also with me here today. As Neil said, we've presented previously at the Tableau conference in London. We also helped out Neil and did a presentation at Nottingham, I think it was 18 months ago at the university. This is really sort of like the first half shows our journey, our Tableau journey of how we've implemented and used Tableau within finance. And then the second half really shows us where we are currently and what our future sort of aims and goals are. So basically, firstly, I think going back 5-6 years ago, our planning team implemented Tableau within Middlesex. They wanted to make a more visualized approach on our student numbers. Obviously, Tableau is a sort of like a viz and a visualization tool. So they took Tableau on board, uploaded all our student numbers, student data onto the system, so we get sort of a viz of the different departments and the different years of the student numbers we have. This data is available for all Middlesex staff, so they can click on, so the dashboard is published for everyone to use as is, public data, so they can see what numbers each department has and which area has. And then from taking planning's approach for Tableau, we decided to use Tableau within finance. The only reason was because currently we use finance reporting tools. We used Discoverer, which was via Oracle, which some of you may be aware, maybe not. But Discoverer has slowly been taken off, and Oracle do not support Discover anymore. So we had to find a new approach on what to go. Shreeta?
Yeah. So we decided to go to Tableau, as Kalpesh just said. It was already currently being used by the university, so we then explored ways of implementing this within finance. I think we were in a situation where we had, as Kalpesh just mentioned, no support by Discoverer. So if anything went wrong with our system, then we wouldn't have had anything to fall back on. So we started developing our financial reports within Tableau. And we have kind of followed a journey. We've gone through a journey where we have started off with budget holder reports, and we've then worked on monthly management account reports that are now currently used by finance. I think it was last end of March, we completely switched off all Discover reports. So we are now fully using Tableau for all of our finance reporting. I think we'll go on to the next slide.
So to develop, obviously, the financial reports on Tableau, we had to go sort of like a development time frame. So we created sort of like a life cycle of how we were going to plan stuff. So first, we created a focus group of who are the main users of the financial data, the current Discover reports. Obviously, the members consist of people using the reports regularly. So we wanted to take their input on what they wanted to see on the new reports and what they did like and what they didn't like on the current reports. From that, we took away information from them and the data we required to create the reports. That's obviously the user groups provided us which versions they required. Then we went back to the user groups and provided sort of draft PDF version of reports of what we thought the reports could look like.
We then consolidated all the requirements that we got back from the focus group are shown on the slide now. So they asked us, they wanted, or budget holders wanted, actuals versus budget by department, actual versus budget by cost center, a breakdown of cost centers by account code, top level totals of expenditure, accumulated month spend, and another thing that was highlighted within the focus group was confidentiality. Obviously, each area spends their money. We have salary costs on all of our budget holder reports. The issue then that we had to explore, kind of to find a solution, was how are we going to stop everyone seeing everything? So we then had to explore different ways of ensuring that the budget holders could only see their own cost center information. So that was one of the issues that we did face. But these were the requirements that we put together and we put together a report and distributed the PDF to the focus group. Right, and
so as we said, PDF versions of the reports were issued to the focus groups. They looked at it and came back with us with any improvements and additions they required. Stuff they wanted like a month and a year drill down on their detailed reports, so they can pick a particular year or a month rather than a sort of period in time that we provided for them. We implement those changes, and then obviously we provided version 2 of their PDF reports to show them what we could create or what the versions could look like.
So we then went through, once we'd got approval from the focus group about the PDFs were what they wanted, we then had to do some UAT, so we had to get the users within the focus group to do some testing to make sure that the reports were all working as expected. So once a UAT had been done, we then published the dashboards for budget holders. Once they were published, we then had another catch up with budget holders, and we asked for improvements and changes that they may like to see, because obviously with that being the first kind of run of the reports being published, we were welcoming feedback and improvements. So we took those improvements, made a few little tweaks and changes. We also built in some security access within which then links to Tableau. So we have an access list which is managed by us in the management accounts department of people that are accessing the people that have access to Tableau, and they have access via their cost centres. So they're restricted to what they can see. They can only see the cost centres that they are responsible for, and that's a list that is maintained by management accounts. We were then also talking to budget holders. We were then aware that administrators and others within the team needed access to reports, but they did not necessarily need to see the salary information. So we then went away and created some reports which were just focused around non-pay, and there was no salary information. So we now can give access to 2 different types of reports to budget holders or administrators, depending on what access they actually need. And that's I think that was quite well received, because the administrators do a lot of the reconciliations, and they needed access to the reports, and it just saved us as management accounts team having to constantly send reports through to them, and now it's very much self-service. So that was quite well received.
So we're going to give you a quick live demo, as in we'll show you the dashboards we've created. This is taken from our test environment, so the data is not accurate, or data is not sort of live at the moment. So I'm going to flip over to Tableau so just bear with me while hopefully this works. Sure, you can see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so within finance, we had a certain amount of projects created. So as you can see, accounts payable, receivable, capital projects. So each area was given a particular project, so we could create reports and publish them in particular reports. The main one, which I'll go through today, is sort of financial services users. The GL is what we use on a daily and a monthly basis for month end, year end. There's also, as Shreeta mentioned, the non-pay financial administration. So all the admins and departments can see reports on there, which has the only the non-pay, no salary information. And then you've got the financial administration information, which the budget holders see because they have the salary costings. So if I flip over, I've got the screens open. So if I go into the financial services user group, you can see we've created a list of reports that we use in management accounts. You've got month-end reporting, detailed actuals, finance overview. The most popular one we use is the first one, which is the month-end reporting for management accounts. So if I go into that, that shows you a summary of reports. So we have income, expenditure, our different schools and finances, summaries, cost centers, and details by cost centers. We have the main reports that we use. So you can see the views, which is details by cost center, and then the detail actuals we use. So if I go into report number 4, so as you can see, we've numbered each report. So if anyone had an issue, they could come back to myself or Shreeta to create the reports and say, we have an issue with report number 4. So then it'll be easier to identify which reports rather than having particular names. So report 4 will give you sort of an overview of so we've got some drop downs. So you've got a particular month, so you can drop down, pick a month and a year. All our data shows data up to that period. So it's not that particular month data, it's everything up until say January 16. You have drop downs for your cost center, so different areas, different schools, different account codes. So you could drop down and pick a particular account code and it would give you the summary. So give you the full, oops, it's changed something now. So it gives you the particular detail actuals. So if I move on to the next one, well, this one's probably been loading. Okay, we'll come back to those ones. So this one is the financial administration information. So this is what the budget holders see for their reports. So they've got overviews, balance breakdowns, detailed transactions. So if I open up this transaction, this basically, I think Tableau is having a moment at the moment. Okay, this one should hopefully work. So this gives us a tab. So you got the all Tableaus are refreshing. So if I go into this one, hopefully it should work. So it gives you the expenditure by, so a particular area would only see their area. So obviously with management accounts, I would see everything, but they would only see their own particular departments. So on the left-hand side, you'd have sort of a graph on their particular areas, showing their budget, their actual expend and their budget to date, so they can keep a track on what they're spending. The first half will show the expenditure by their cost centers, also as graphs. So a lot of the budget holders obviously are not finance related, so they want to see a visualization. So the red line will show their full year budget, the grey would show what budget is to date and how much they've spent, and the bottom half will be a balance account breakdown, so particular accounts and costs. If they were to click on particular one, it would update all the other reports in the tab. So if I went to finance overview, it would give you a detailed actuals, so on summary, so your cost center, and then you'd have your budget to date, your actual, your variance, and then obviously it would feed through into the details as well. So that will give you the full breakdown per line. So every tab is linked in to the budget holders. The similar report is for the admin, but they would see everything, but without the salary lines in. If I was to go back into the other one, which hopefully is now working, so this is what we see in management accounts. Summaries, so we see our budget to date, actuals, full year budget, and then we can get a balance breakdown, or similar to a budget holders report, but this would have everything in it. So we use that for our monthly basis. I think Shreeta's going to now, so let me stop sharing the Shreeta can open her slides. Ready, Shreeta?
Yes, yeah.
All right, stop sharing. Now you can share your screen.
So we created reports for budget holders and the management accounts team, but obviously with Discoverer coming to an end, we had to also consider other users within finance that also used their Discoverer reports. So we then went on to create some VAT reports that are used by financial accounts. I'm not going to show you these because it is literally just a list of actuals with a breakdown of VAT in it. We also created a fixed asset report, and then the capital team required a capital project report. So we've gone on and basically just in the same way we've done for our budget holders, we've done this for the PMO team who look after all the capital projects. And this has been published to them as well. So we've got a summary by project number, project type, and then the amount of money that's been spent against the budget. Again, in this, we've got detailed actuals. I don't know whether it's actually, I think it's going to take a while for it to come through, but we've got, in the same way we have with the budget holder reports, we also have a list, basically a detailed list of expenditure by project. We also have a summary and a graph that are all used, and we've got a number of filters in, so you can filter by project number, project type, project status, and look at just all open projects. We are also in the process of putting together and finalising a commitment report, but this commitment report was reliant on different data sources, so it's taken us a bit longer, so we're in the process of finalising that as well. So this has been rolled out to the PMO team and is also rolled out by the finance staff that actually look after projects as well. So overall, we've kind of covered a lot of the areas within finance with the reports that we have available at the moment. Right, Kalpesh, do you want to go back to the presentation?
Yep.
Oh, let me stop sharing. Yeah.
All right, my turn. So as Shreeta mentioned, we have different reports as management accounts. We also created, we assisted financial accounts, so they've done the fixed assets. Shreeta just showed you the projects. We've got sort of a VAT and tax in progress at the moment. So all of our basic financial needs are all on Tableau now, as we've stopped using our Discover systems. Let me flip back to presentation. Yeah, so we've done a quick demo on our dashboards. Obviously, now we don't have the time to go through everyone in detail because we've got quite a few. So that's just the overview I showed you of our reports. So we faced issues when we were creating these reports. As you can see, Tableau development and training, myself and Shreeta were management accounts. We're not IT backgrounds. We didn't know. Tableau was the first time we saw when planning showed it to us. We had to go through training courses, and I would say our best tool is always Google to learn to create reports if you have any issues. I came with calculations and formulas because many of you know when you're creating the reports, a lot of them are sort of calculations, there's formulas in there. They're not as straightforward as easy as I would say as Excel, but I said Google is the best friend as always. With a lot of the budget holders wanted graphs, so we had to find out what we can and what we cannot be done on graphs. Data source was an issue with us as all our financial data sits on Oracle. Then it had to be issued into a data warehouse to then feed into Tableau. So it needed to be a format that Tableau could read. So all our data is now refreshed overnight. So it's not a live version at the moment, but everything's refreshed overnight so we can feed it into Tableau. Say when we're doing testing, we need to have a test environment so we could test our stuff on Tableau before publishing it live. So we do want to publish stuff which might be incorrect information as it's financial information. We don't want people taking it that way and getting wrong sort of information from it. And obviously Tableau system technical support, we don't really have the technical support in Middlesex. We have an IT system, but they are now slowly going to look after Tableau, but currently you're planning on looking after Tableau, and with their assistance, myself and Shreeta have created quite a lot of these reports.
Right, so we've got we've obviously done as much as we have done for finance, but we do have quite a few ongoing projects. The thing that we've recently put into our Tableau reports is our quarterly forecast. As a university, we don't input our forecasts into a system, and it's all done manually via Excel. So we have had to combine the data sources and bring in Excel as a data source as well. So it's had a few challenges, but we've managed to get there, and we have got the quarterly forecast, so we can now see our forecasts against the reports. So we're going to be putting that out to the budget holders soon as well. Once I've kind of put a few tests in place, we're going to send that out to the budget holders so they can then also see their reports against their actuals against the forecast. So we do quarterly forecasting, so we'll put in quarter 1, quarter 2 and quarter 3 forecasts within their reports. We've recently also been working with accounts receivables to get all of their data onto Tableau, all their reports onto Tableau. And that again is an ongoing project, but we are almost, I mean, we're halfway there, so we're getting there. One of the projects that's taking us quite a while is payroll. As you can imagine, confidentiality of the data is a big concern to the university, so we have to go through various checks, put in various security security filters within the reports. So this is taking this I think the project, from what I know, I'm not involved in this project myself, but from what I know is the project has started, but we don't actually know when we're expecting to complete that project. So we still have, within Discover, we still have that element still open, and we are still able to download our payroll reports from Discover at the moment, but we are looking to stop relying on Discover as soon as we can. We're also constantly trying to find improvements on our current reports. So we've got an ongoing wish list that the management accounts fill it in as they speak to budget holders or as they're using their reports, and we kind of go into that wish list regularly to see what improvements we can make, because some of them could well be for quick fixes, some of them could take a bit of time, but we're constantly trying to improve what we've currently got. Next big project that we've got is trying to get some of the financial review that goes out to the university, getting some of that on Tableau. So obviously we have a lot of information going out on our financial review on a monthly basis, so we're going to try and see what elements of that we can get into Tableau, just to make it easier to put the financial review together, and just to kind of automate some of the processes where we can. And then I think, from what I know, Kalpesh is working on the student income distribution on Tableau, so that again is an ongoing project. So we still have a lot that we're still working on, but I think from what from where we were and where we are now, I think we've made quite a decent amount of progress, but we've still got a way to go to kind of have everything on Tableau.
Yeah, as Shreeta said, I think our journey in the last few years has moved quite considerably as we've come up discover all our financial reporting is now on Tableau, so we are sort of dependent on Tableau, and obviously it's more sort of easy to use for the departments and the areas, and even for us, because there's a lot of drop downs and filters, which makes it easier. I think that's it from us. So if you have any questions, do let us know, and I'm going to move over back to Neil.
All right, thank you, Kalpesh and Shreeta. There are a few questions, but as promised, I think if we will curate all those, and we'll come back to them at the end, if that's all right. So, yep. Thank you very much. Without further ado, Matt, I think you're going to share your screen now. Is that correct?
Yeah, just bear with me one moment. Okay, so first of all, can you hear me and can you see the screen?
I can hear you and I can see your screen, so I'm going to mute myself now.
Okay, perfect. Jenny and James, how about you?
Yes, I can see the screen.
Perfect. Yeah, cool.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, so my name's Matt, and I'm going to be starting off by giving a bit of background, and then I'll be handing over to my colleagues Jenny and James, who will go into a bit more detail. So in terms of what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking a bit about the value of collaboration when creating visualizations and when using Tableau. This will be tied into kind of my personal journey with being a complete beginner at using Tableau and learning to use Tableau to create visualizations. This also involves me coming into a team of people that have experience in visualizing data and kind of learning from them and working with them. We'll also be touching upon continuous improvement and this idea that you might think you're done, but you're not. Okay, so Neil approached me. He asked me to build a workbook that allowed us to explore the tariffs of the students across the university. So this allowed us to explore data related to tariffs. So this is kind of tied to two measures, so the average tariff and the proportion of high tariffs. So this should allow us to explore this at a high level, and also break it down to school and faculty level and allow comparisons to other institutions. I think this will make a bit more sense once I actually show you the workbook. So to think about my approach to this and my inspiration, so when I started this project, I was actually given a workbook which contains some of this data. So there's a screenshot of this here. As you can see, it's quite basic, but I think it shows the data quite well, I think. And I use this as kind of a basis to the workbook I eventually built. I also looked at the current workbooks that were previously built by the team. So I've got an example of one here. This was useful because it allowed me to kind of get some guidance with regards to style guidelines and gave me an idea to how much data I should include and how kind of the chart should be laid out. I also looked at the tariffs data sets themselves. So I think it's quite useful when starting a new project to kind of look at the data sets themselves, get to know the data, what kind of fields are in there, and how it all relates together. And that got me thinking about how I could start to present that in a visualization. I also drew upon my previous experience of working with data and visualization. So as I mentioned, I'm pretty much a beginner of using Tableau. I've been using it for about 2 months, which I've been working with data visualization a lot longer. So that was typically using Tooltips and Excel, some web stuff as well. So the point is more I'm a beginner at using Tableau, but not necessarily data and visualizations. And the end result was this workbook here. So this was the first version of the workbook I created. So as you can see, we've got some headline figures at the top. And then I mentioned there was 2 measures. So on the left-hand side, we've got the average tariffs. And on the right-hand side, we've got the proportion of high tariffs. So this shows the change over time compared to competitor institutions and the Russell Group in general. And also the average tariff and the proportion of high tariff broken down by faculty. I should also point out all this data is anonymized for this presentation. These numbers are not necessarily correct. So that was what I was finished. So I went back to Neil and said, I finished that visualization you've asked for. And then he suggested that I show it to Jenny and James so they could give me some suggestions on how to improve it further. And that's exactly what I did.
Okay, thank you, Matt. So Matt asked for our feedback on his visualization, and James and I were only too happy to help him because we love to help out. And as you saw, Matt's first viz was actually really nice anyway. So there was only really small tweaks that we had to make to it. But we wanted to make it basically a bit nicer to look at. And secondly, also clearer regarding what the visualization is representing. And thirdly, making it easier for end users to navigate around the viz and also to gain insights easily. So what did we recommend?
So when I first looked at Matt's dashboard, the thing that struck me was the big numbers at the top. It's great that they're there because they give you the headline figures, but I thought a couple of changes could make them stand out even more. Currently, they're competing for attention with the words that are above them. So I suggested Matt put the numbers at the top and make the words smaller. And this is what Matt came up with. So now the numbers are the focus of those top boxes and they grab the user's attention more.
Okay, so the second thing that we asked Matt to look at was the layout of the viz. And I think this overall made the biggest impact in terms of the visual impact of the viz, and made it a little bit easier to follow as well. So in this first example, you can see that Matt's got 2 metrics that he's using. He's got average tariff and he's got the proportion of high tariff students, and they take up roughly half of the page. But I asked Matt to make this a bit more obvious. So as you see in the final version, you'll see that it's a lot more obvious, and the big numbers at the top are aligned with the bar charts underneath. And also Matt's put white space between each of the sections. It just makes it easier to follow and easier to follow the story of the viz as well. So we also asked Matt to add some labels to give some context where needed. So if you look at this particular chart, the end users might be a little bit shocked about this because you might think, oh my gosh, my average tariff is dropping significantly. But actually, it was actually totally fine. It's just that the tariff methodology changed in 2016-17. So what Matt's done is he's just added some context to this. So you can see he's just added a label onto there. And also Matt's also labelled the start and end of the lines as well on the line charts. And this just makes it easier for people to get information quickly. But it hasn't overcrowded the chart, so only add labels where they're needed. Don't overcrowd it, but it just helps to give some context and makes it a bit clearer as to what the viz is showing. So yeah, we also asked Matt to look a little bit at the colours as well. So in this first viz, it actually looks quite nice, I think, but there's quite a few colours going on. So you can see in the line chart, we've got a colour for the University of Nottingham, a colour for the Russell Group, a colour for the competitors, which I think actually works quite well. But then we've got another colour for the average tariff and another colour for the proportion of high tariff students, and quite a dark background blue on the big numbers. So if we go to the final viz, you can see this is a lot clearer, a lot cleaner. Matt still used those 3 colours on the line charts, but as you see, University of Nottingham is the dark blue colour, and this is now reflected in the charts underneath because these also refer to the University of Nottingham. And you can see that the blue colour behind the big numbers has changed to a lighter grey, and this really it makes the big numbers stand out even more, makes the chart stand out and makes it look a lot cleaner and brighter. So I think a few consistent colours make the viz look nicer. I quite like colours. I think they give a bit of character to the viz, but just be careful and don't use too many. Yes, I think overall the final viz just makes the colours just make it easier to navigate around the viz as well.
So our final piece of advice was about tooltips. So if a user hovers over a mark on your chart, you want to impart the most important piece of information about it clearly and quickly. In this case, it's the value of the average tariff that's the most salient piece of information. So I suggested Matt put that value at the top and make it the biggest element of the tooltip, mirroring the earlier advice for the big numbers. I also suggested that the tooltip could convey more information with less words. As you can see it now, the values are now the focus of the tooltips, and overall those tooltips are clearer and easier to interpret. So we've talked you through an example of how we collaborate on Tableau projects within our department. What was great was how well this worked with someone relatively new. We really liked Matt's original viz, but he also took our feedback on board and implemented it really well. We haven't created the perfect visualization, but the final viz is better than the original, and that's thanks to our ethos of collaboration. In this particular instance, Matt plus Jenny and James equals a happy end user.
Thank you. I don't recall giving my permission for my photograph to be used quite as liberally as that. But thank you all very much. That was very interesting. Okay, so we have had some questions through. Oh, I think Dave's been answering them. Dave, are you there?
I've not been answering them, but Kalpesh and Shreeta have been answering them.
Okay, they've been answering them on the Q&A section. Okay, that doesn't give me a chance. That doesn't give me a chance to fill in the rest of this session with asking the questions. But
well, I didn't know if Kalpesh or Shreeta wants to pull out any particular questions that they thought might be interesting to talk about.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, there was one question on there, which I think 2 people asked a similar thing about user access and user rights. So from the old system, we had so people have access to particular cost centers and codes. So those were uploaded into Oracle. So Oracle has a as you call it, a project within Oracle, which has everyone's names and what cost centers they are allowed to view. As management accounts now, we update that regularly. So if we had a new member of staff or someone changing areas or changing codes they wish, we would manually go into Oracle and find that person and update their sort of cost centers or hierarchy they can see. So that sort of keeps the, let's say, the confidentiality of the particular department. So only certain people can see certain codes. So initially it was all uploaded, but now management accounts do sort of manage it ourselves as a business partnering thing. So we go in and we update it. That's one of the questions which was used. So I think
Kalpesh, sorry. Can I jump in there? Because I had a question on this too. I think on one of your slides, you say that you, did you copy in your security credentials from Oracle into Tableau? Is that correct?
Yeah, so our Tableau, we basically, the security credentials within Oracle is created into a data source which feeds into Tableau. So we have like user access. So Tableau will look up that data source. So if that particular person logged in, their login would look into that data source and they would see only the codes that they've been given access to via Oracle. That makes sense?
Sort of. Okay.
I've got a question for Middlesex if we got a minute.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's around your calculations and your formulas, and how do you have a particular way of managing that to ensure they're all consistent?
We have with the reports that we have got like a report log that we've that was created when the reports were first put together, and that does have like kind of a breakdown of all the calculations and formulas that have been used. So if ever anything did go wrong with any of our reports, we've got something to go back to. But in terms of calculations for the reports that we put in, they are the calculations are all very different. So it's not a kind of we just have to change them as and when we go along, but we try and keep a log of everything just so that we don't lose any information that we've got or lose the way that the reports were put together. So we have a report log that we try and maintain.
Okay, thank you.
Dave and Neil, it looks like we've got a couple more questions that just came in.
We have, thank you. So, Ofuri asked a question about if there's any advice on new licensing or subscription method for Tableau. That I think wherever Ofuri works, they've got a perpetual license, but that might be changing soon. I think that is quite a hot topic, and it might be one that we might want to pick up at a future session. But I don't have an answer to that. At Nottingham, we've got a perpetual license too, and again, we're happy with that. So I think it would be interesting to explore the licensing options with Tableau at a future session, which may sound like a cop-out answer. It's because I don't really have one. But I think we can certainly look at scheduling something for a future session. Emma asked if Nottingham, how Nottingham defines high tariff. And James, Jenny, Matt, if you don't mind, I'll just... oh, Dave's going to answer this question live, which looks interesting. But
no, I was just doing the admin for you answering it.
Oh, right, thanks. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm not sure sharing our exact definition of high tariff is appropriate. I think we looked at the range of tariff scores we get, and we also looked at the range of tariff scores we would like to get, and we came up with a figure which we were happy to say this is the high tariff band that we strive for. So that's how we did it. It wasn't, yeah, it's not a perfect measure, but it's something. It was more of a goal for us to reach.
There's an element of target rather than just slicing up the sector and benchmarking. There was an element of what you wanted to strive to.
Yes, yeah, there was. Thanks, Dave. Yes, we wanted to, you know, like many institutions, we wanted to improve our tariff score. So it was a way of measuring that. Okay, so it looks like licensing might be a hot topic. Someone else is asking about that. Are we done with questions, Dave? Is it worth covering some of the ones that have been answered online, or are we okay?
I think the majority of them have been were quite particular and have been answered.
Okay.
By Middlesex.
Oh, something's just come in.
Yeah, there's a question about what version of Tableau people are using. So for the two presenters, can you say about what version of Tableau you're on?
Middlesex are on 10.5. We were quite on an older version, so we're still waiting for the upgrades. It's just to do with us. I think it's our servers and our data sources. So we were a while back on a different version, so we have been upgraded. I think it was 6 months ago to 10.5. But obviously, we are quite a little bit behind on the new update. So we have been seeing, you know, the different stuff you can do in the new ones. So hopefully, in time, we'll be able to upgrade. But currently, yeah, we're on 10.5.
Yeah, for Nottingham, we're on 2019.2. And just, yeah, that's it.
Okay, so Juan has mentioned, so I can't remember who it was that asked the tariff band defining high tariffs, that there's research at HEFCE that defines high, medium and low tariffs, which may be useful if you're looking at defining your own high tariff band. Adam from Tableau also chipped in with an answer to one of the questions, saying Tableau row-level security might be an option for for those people who are looking to limit what or manage what people can see. That's very true. Okay, I think, have we come to the end of our Q&A? I think we perhaps have. So
yeah,
I share my screen and go back to my PowerPoint. Not that there's much more to show, but we've done questions, so thank you for that. Go full screen, and next steps. So whilst we were speaking, I quickly typed in some email addresses onto a slide. So that is myself, Dave's, and James's email addresses if you want to volunteer to speak, if you want to get involved in anything else. I know we've had a few people who have volunteered to participate in Tableau doctor sessions and or just help to organize stuff. Thank you very much for volunteering. If anyone hasn't had a chance to use the chat, then there are our email addresses. So please feel free to contact us. So next steps, I think, what time is it? We probably want to organize something, get it in the diaries fairly soon. We have one potential speaker lined up, but it would be good to get another speaker for another session. I know it's the Easter break after this week. So perhaps the week after, many weeks is that? 3 weeks from now, if we perhaps look to schedule in another hour virtual tug, if that is of interest. If you'd like to speak, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll start hounding people. And as I say, we'll look to try and collate people's responses to that survey and try and create some groups of people who might want to be interested in working together on various different projects. We'll have a think about that and work out how we can share that and make that happen. So I think that is kind of drawing us to the end of the session. My screen's flashing at me, so I think there's another comment perhaps. Oh, thank you, Dan. Yes, I think that brings us to the end. So thanks for joining. Keep in touch, stay safe, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you very much.